Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name's Helen Webster. I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and our very interesting and accomplished guest this evening is...
I'm Howard Lewis.
Welcome, Howard.
Thank you very much, Howard, for joining us. Howard is super busy, and we'll find out about that as we go along. So he's really given his time tonight. So massive thank you for giving your time to us. But we do start off with a little shout out to the kids. Any little people, young people who've done amazing things this week. Do you want to go first, Sam? Do you want me to go first?
I might be robbing yours. I'd like to give a shout out to the young gentleman, the young man who cycled
George.
from Speke to Conway. 15-year-old lad who cycled on Saturday from Speke to Conway, over 70 miles. The way they went, the route they took to raise funds for the year. As you know, we did a big event we supported a big event on Saturday, raising funds for Nathaniel's medication. So I was so impressed that lad did that really top notch, and he did it with ease as well, it would seem. So
yeah, big shout out to George. And George did a wheelie somewhere. He was doing wheelies and little tricks, and somebody from Flint donated and left a little message, and they said to the lad who entertained us doing the wheelies and flicks and tricks outside our house. So that was a good shout out for George as well, wasn't it? Which was ace, and they donated a tenner. There you are, Sandra's just found your card.
In the bed.
I am going to shout out to a lovely young group of people young people in Friends of Springfield. So Springfield Park is next door to Alder Hey Hospital, and we took whack-a-ball there last Wednesday night on detachment. So getting involved with young people, asking what they want and stuff like that, so that to try and include them so that they don't cause mischief, should we say. And we took whack-a-ball, and we had a little play with youth empowerment services, and there was a little gang watching, and these 4 young girls, so they were from 11 to 13, 14-year-olds, and they came over and they played with us and they had a great time. And then the youth empowerment services were there on the Thursday night, and they were on the new Mugger, because there's a new Mugger being built, and they had some young lads playing. So big shout out to all of the young people in Friends of Springfield Park for getting involved, which is cool. So people say that they're hanging around and doing stuff. They were just having a little chat, but it was nice that they came in and got involved. So big shout out to them, and thanks to the girls for joining in. What about you, Howard?
Well, in terms of young people, and I guess they technically qualified to me because they're my daughters, but my daughters, Mira and Maddie, get their A-level results on Thursday. So, and they worked so hard to study over and get all that stuff done. I have 4 daughters, so I should shout out to all of them, really.
Wow.
But Maddie, yeah, I'm busy. That's why I'm very busy, having 4 daughters. But yeah, and they've just done excellent to do that, and I'm fingers crossed for Thursday morning when they open that email to find out how they've done.
Yeah, fingers round, all is sound. You've got this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And a big shout out to everybody who's getting their A-level results. And don't forget, it doesn't define the human that you are. Yeah, you can still go on to do amazing things. Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool, brilliant. Success this week for you personally, something that's happened to you. Stan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, okay. I got 3 new clients this week, which isn't bad going for August. For summer, it goes quiet, so that was really good. Everything's going fine with all the work I'm doing. Yeah, good stuff. I was really glad, the event we did with Saturday, for me, that was a success, that we were able to support those people through doing Success in the City. Had we not set this up, we wouldn't have known about it, and we wouldn't have been helped to help those people who were just amazing. And they were so grateful, and they were going, "Oh, thanks for everything you've done." And I was like, "You've just cycled 70 miles, We had the easy job, but I was shattered on Sunday. So I think that was my overall success this week.
Yeah, I've put that as my success, was the support for the bike ride. So they cycled the 70 miles. Sandra and I went to the pit stops.
I saw all the great Facebook posts or videos that you guys did. It was great. So you were there at every stop. So
we don't normally do loads of stuff like that at all. We do the odd thing, but not much like that. But this was just something. We have a lot of charities on the show because it's our passion. But this was just something that was a matter of urgency that really needed support.
So yeah, I think the success was that Sandra and I made it there alive. Wait till you hear the red faces, because that's got a lot to do with it.
I'm dreading this.
You've forgotten already.
You've got a few, haven't you?
I want to. That's my life, Howard. Honestly.
Oh, really? Oh.
What's your success this week, Howard?
I think this week I had a really busy July. Went on 3 different trips, not all holidays, to be fair, and so was probably doing a bit of excessive drinking and eating and not exercising. Yeah. But we'll probably come on to it later. I'm doing a trip to the Sahara later this year, raising money for Nugent, which is another great local charity, with some other great local people. And we've got a 15-week training plan, which started last week. And my success is to date, I've kept up with that training plan. I've not missed any of the sessions I'm supposed to do.
Fair play.
So my success is I've actually kept off alcohol pretty much there or thereabouts since I came back from Ibiza, and I've been going to every training session I should have done. So
well done.
That's a success in itself.
That's a massive success. That's dead cool. That's boss, and I can't wait to hear about that. That sounds like something that's on my bucket list. Yeah, amazing, brilliant. Yeah. So we're going to play this or that. Okay, Sandra, you going first? Am I going first?
You go first today, Hal.
Okay.
So,
I want to say a massive thank you to Corporate Connections, who sponsor our show. Okay, and they do business, connecting people in business and things like that. So I've sort of linked it a little bit to that, but also a little bit to what you do, Howard. Okay. Or what you're sort
of. I've been to a couple of the Corporate Connections events. That's where I met you first, Sandra, wasn't it?
Howard, yes.
Yeah. Cool. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. So Howard, would you rather host a business conference, or a business awards dinner?
Oh, an awards dinner, much more fun.
Good one.
An awards dinner. Yeah. What about you, Sam?
You see everybody getting so excited and happy and buzzy, and sometimes conferences, depending on the subject matter, can be quite dour. They're not always that case, but you know an awards is going to be fun.
Yeah. Subject matters everything, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would rather go to an awards dinner, hands down, because I love them. And stuff. And loads. They're good fun.
Yeah. As you say, it depends whether the conference, is important to you, isn't it? And it matters. I do love a day of learning, but I think you make more connections at an awards dinner. So in a conference, you'll make the connections with the people either side of you, possibly if you have a little mooching around having a cup of tea. But I think in awards ceremony, you tend to make more connections with the table that you sat in and possibly other people in the room. So I'd go awards as well. Okay. What about you, Sam? Next question.
Okay. Howard, Sheraton or Hilton?
Hilton.
Oh, hands down. Didn't wait.
Yeah, as you'll know, as we will talk about, I've worked for Hilton for a number of years. I don't currently, but Hilton were a company that I've spent a lot of my years working in hospitality. So yeah, I'm very passionate about Hilton as a brand and as a company to work for. Yeah,
Hilton for me. What about you, Sam?
I'm like that because obviously from the airlines, we used to stay in a variety of hotels. My favourite hotel brands, the leading hotels of the world, as they were called. We used to stay in one in Naples there that was gorgeous. But I've stayed in some very nice Sheraton hotels as well.
You can only pick one for the rest of your life.
We do good brunches in the Middle East. If I had to pick one for the rest of my life, it would be the Hilton.
There you go.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Howard, would you rather do a shift on the bar or in the kitchen?
Oh, definitely the bar. Definitely the bar. I love working. I'll tell you what, I love cooking, and it's one of my things to do when I'm at home is cook. I love to cook for friends and family, but I think the interaction with the guests at the bar is what I enjoy. It's why I enjoy working in hospitality, meeting different people, and having different conversations, whether they're drunk or sober. I think, and making different drinks, and you can have so much fun behind a bar. It's a good buzz. But I do love cooking, so that's a tough one.
Yeah. What about you, Sam? Kitchen or bar?
Bar.
You're working it.
Bar, hands down. Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah.
I like cooking. I like cooking at home. I love cooking, actually. I really enjoy it. Not professionally, though. It's just absolute craft. And your hair goes frizzy. Whereas when you're at the bar, you can just
You
chat.
should have your hair tied back though, Sandra, if you're working in a
Exactly.
kitchen.
Really,
Your hair net on.
when you're front of house, or when you can talk to customers, you can talk to people, which I much prefer.
Yeah.
Face to face, definitely, not behind.
Bar 100, yeah, bar 100% for me. When working in the kitchen, hostile environment, chefs hated me, so yeah, bar 100%. Yeah. Go on, Sam, your go.
Okay, Howard, would you rather work in the Midlands or the Northwest? Because I know you were based down in Birmingham for a while.
Oh,
I'd have to say the Northwest, not only because it's where my daughters are all from, and well, 3 of my 4 daughters were born in the Northwest, and they all live in the north of the UK. But it's got to do with something else, is the fact that I love to live near water, and in the Midlands you haven't got the sea, and I love to be by the sea. I live in Lytham St Anne's, and living by the sea is something I don't want to ever give up, because it's just being able to walk by the beach, take a dog for a walk on the beach. Yeah, so for that reason alone.
So I've worked in both. I've run pubs in Birmingham, well, just outside of Birmingham, in Shirley, and also in Wolverhampton, and I have done in Liverpool and Northwest Manchester and places. I would say Northwest, but I absolutely love the Brummies. I love them. I had a ball down in Birmingham. I loved it. I think it's a really friendly, cool place to be. But yeah, I think the home Liverpool would win. What about you, Sam?
Well, I've never lived in the Midlands, so I would say Liverpool. I've lived in London and I've lived abroad, but I've never lived anywhere else in the UK. Just Merseyside, that's it.
Cool. Okay. My last one. Howard, you've just been on 3 vacationy holidays. Would you rather stay self-catering or full board?
Could that be enhanced to all inclusive, or is it just full board?
No, just full board. All inclusive's another level.
Yeah. So so if we're talking full board or self-catering, I'd probably say self-catering, because I like the flexibility of being able to do your own thing when you want to, eat when you want to, drink when you want to, and yeah.
What about you, Sam?
Self-catering or half board?
No, full board or self-catering.
Full board, because they'll do your packed lunch on holiday. Well, if you go out for the day and say, "Oh, I'll have a packed lunch," they'll do it for you, no bother. Full board, hands down. You don't have to worry about anything. Great.
Oh no, I'm 100% self-catering. I don't want to be told when I have my breakfast, my dinner, or me time on. Yeah, the flexibility of it.
7 in the morning till 10:30. How much time do you need? I love it. I love going away and being looked after and everything. I think that's really nice.
I do love an all-inclusive. You can't beat an all-inclusive.
Yeah, all-inclusive's on another
level. That's
level.
more about the alcohol. So I'm sending a sort of bad vibe there. More about the alcohol than it is about the food.
Your last one, Sam.
Okay. Would you rather have a starter and a main course, or a main course and a dessert, Howard?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Very mood specific, that, but I would probably say, because I haven't got as sweet a tooth. I do love cheese, but I'd probably go starter main. Yeah.
Me too. Starter main. How about you, Helen?
Main dessert, 100,000,000%. I'd rather have 2 desserts.
Two desserts. That's so funny.
Yeah. Because we told everyone that you had a dessert stomach. You actually Google a dessert stomach, it actually comes up, and there's a little part of your stomach that's a separate little bit called a dessert stomach. So you've always got room for dessert. Yeah. And I had this girl, and I was like, yeah, so you've got a dessert stomach, and she 100% believed me that you could have a dessert. I was like, yeah, it's okay. You can just have. Yeah, so desserts all the way. But yeah, sticky toffee pudding.
Although my chef made a dessert for me to try today that has scallop in it. Yeah.
Oh,
Believe it or not. Yeah.
What was it
It's a rice pudding with a creme brulee crust and then a caramelized slice of scallop on top with caramel sauce. It actually tastes gorgeous.
did it?
Yeah, it's really, really nice. And it's a talking point because you would never normally find something that's got scallop in it as a dessert, obviously.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to try it and then you'd understand it is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like a Heston Blumenthal type thing, that, isn't it? You know, very unusual.
Yeah, I'd have to taste that. We're more than happy to be tasters.
Yeah, we'll taste it. Yeah, that's
come on down.
I'm sure everybody says that with me. Yeah, we'll taste it all for you.
We'll taste your scallop brulee.
So Sandra, I'm going to let you introduce Howard because he's your guest. So.
Brilliant. Well, I'm absolutely delighted we've got Howard on board. And this evening, because whilst he lives in Lytham, he's got quite a major pivotal role. And people might think, oh, just managing a hotel. Yeah, managing a hotel is something else. It really is. Because you're an ambassador for the city, aren't you, Howard? And you're next to the Royal College of Physicians, is it now?
Yes.
We're very fortunate to get that. You sit on the hospitality board. You're the chair of Club Liverpool. You're involved in Alder Hey. So you've really embedded yourself in a very professional way in the city and are a great ambassador for the city. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much. On, and we'd love to hear about your journey and how you got to where you are today, really, and what your job includes and what for the future.
Okay, well, you've only got 45 minutes, so this night I'm joking. Try and cover as much as possible. So I've always worked in hospitality. I've ever since I sort of finished school, and probably even when I was at school, but I was born in Essex in the south of the UK, but I moved to the States when I was very young. And that's where I got the passion for working in hospitality. I was living in Dallas, Texas. And my dad worked in sort of incentive travel and sort of incentive hospitality where you'd have big groups of people. Actually, what it was in back then, you had a lot of businesses relocating to the southern states from the East Coast where, it was more expensive to live and less space, etc. And Texas had so much land that you can fit the UK into Texas like 5 times. So it's a massive state, and it was very cheap to get offices, and it was very cheap to have the housing. So you had these big corporations like Pepsi-Cola and Delta Airlines and stuff moving their corporate offices from the East Coast down to Dallas. And he with another guy set up a dude ranch, which was basically to try and acclimatize people with living in Texas. If you've come from Philadelphia or New York State, it's nothing like Texas. If you've been to the States, you'll know that all the states are very different. So they had this dude ranch, and they would have the big groups of office people come out, and they would take them on trail rides and do rodeos and do line dancing and sort of Texan barbecues and have a whole experience. The whole thing was to try and integrate the whole family. So you'd have these families that would move the whole lock and stock and barrel down to Texas. And that was my first job when I was like 12, 13, 14. I would go to this ranch at the weekends and serve popcorn or soft drinks or soda, what they call them, snow cones, with the syrups on to people. I remember doing that, sitting there with the ice and pouring syrupy snow cones to these kids. And you'd have 4,000 or 5,000 people come to this massive dude ranch and do and stuff over the whole weekend. And it was just good fun. So I got a bit of a buzz for it for that. And my dad would also go to some of these big hotels like Sheraton's, and there was a hotel in Texas or in Dallas called the Anatole, which is a 3,000 bed hotel, big atrium in the middle. And we used to go for brunch on a Sunday, and brunch in the States was a really big thing. And I just fell in love with that whole sort of hospitality, looking after people. So I did work experience at high school in the States in a hotel in just outside of Dallas, in a place called Addison. And then we moved back to the UK when I finished high school, and I went to university in London, studied BA Honours in hotel management, and then I got a graduate management placement with De Vere Hotels. And back then they were part of Greenhalls, and which is obviously, so the head office was in Warrington. The Daresbury Park, as it was back then, was the head office. And the graduate management program was I had to work around 3 or 4 different hotels over 12-month period, and I ended up spending my first 3 months at the Belfry in the Midlands, Sutton Coldfield.
Nice. I lived around the corner from there.
Yeah, and I was there for the Ryder Cup in 1993, and I got to look after the American Ryder Cup team. So Tom Watson was the captain that year, and just the experience of working the Ryder Cup and all the people that were there, all the celebrities and etc. was amazing. And I love all sports. You probably tell by the wall behind me.
Yeah,
I do play golf, and I actually was in the staff accommodation, which was in a farmhouse behind the 17th green of the Brabazon, which is the course they play the Ryder Cup on at the Belfry. So I could get up in the morning and I'd walk across the course to the hotel to work. And just that experience of being there when the Ryder Cup was on, actually staying on the course was pretty special. And I worked around some of the hotel. I came to Mottram Hall, which is up in Cheshire, and worked there. I worked at the Abbey, which was in Hyde, just outside of Manchester. It doesn't exist anymore. And where was the other one? Oh, the Abbey in Malvern was the other hotel I worked at. But then after I'd done my graduate program, I got offered a full-time job at the Belfry, and I went back there and I worked there for 6 years. I had a little gap in the middle, but I think that really grounded me into working in hotels. It was a big hotel. It was 370 odd bedrooms. I can't remember exactly, but it did huge food and beverage. We had the Bel Air nightclub, which was very busy. We had, I think, 4 or 5 restaurants. Yeah, we had the golf restaurant, the leisure club restaurant, and then we had the garden room with the French, which was a sort of a fine dining restaurant. And then we had a restaurant in the nightclub as well. We had like 15 bars, big function rooms. So we were doing, I think about back then, and this was in the mid-90s, over £10 million a year in food and beverage revenue alone. So really busy operation. And I initially worked as a sort of guest relations manager, duty manager. You'd be responsible for looking after events that were coming in. And there would be days where you'd have 30, 40 different events taking place, golf days. And I worked my way up. I opened up the new PGA Woodlands Academy, which was built as an add-on there, and how it now houses the PGA Europe's headquarters, and there's a PGA training facility there where they train PGA professionals. So if you're a great golfer and you want to become a PGA professional, you go to the Belfry to get your sort of accreditation.
That, isn't it?
So that was a dream come true, and I spent 6 great years there. And I left to get my first sort of deputy GM's role, which was in the Imperial in Torquay, which was on the south coast. I won't bore you too much, but the Imperial in Torquay was the first 5-star hotel outside of London. When star ratings were much more prevalent than they are in this day and age. And back in the late 90s, it was going to lose its 5-star, and I went there when it got taken over by Paramount Hotels. And helped it to maintain its 5-star, and worked with the GM there, a guy called Tom From, who was also American, to sort of keep it as a 5-star hotel, and that was a great experience. And it overlooks Tor Bay, so it's on the rocks overlooking and on a nice, beautiful summer's day, you'd think you were in the French Riviera. It's kind of got a feel to it down on the south coast.
You must have met some amazing people on your journey, though. You must have met a lot of famous people, and
absolutely, yeah. Back at the Belfry with the golf, we had royal celebrities coming. We had the Sultan of Brunei come to stay, and we had to look after him. I'll tell you a very quick funny story. I'll tell you another one later, but a funny story. We had a presidential suite which we did up for him with loads of stuff and loads of food and different things that we thought he'd like. And he arrived, and basically they said he just wanted a McDonald's off the course because it was when the tournament was on. So they had like McDonald's catering on the course, and basically just wanted a Big Mac and fries rather than any of all this beautiful caviar and smoked salmon and everything nice we'd done for him. So you always tend to find that. But I've met a lot of pop stars, Lady Gaga and people like that, Miley Cyrus. So when I got my first GM role with Paramount, I spent 2 years at the Palace in Buxton, but then I went to the Imperial in Blackpool. And hosted party conferences. So I've hosted Labour and Conservative Party conferences both in Blackpool and in Brighton. but my second stint in Blackpool, when I worked at the Hilton, we had the Royal Variety Show in Blackpool, and the Queen actually attended that, and I got to go. Wow. And we had, I'm trying to think of all the different. So Lady Gaga, that's where I met Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga performed, and Miley Cyrus, Michael Bublé.
Did you meet Bruce Forsyth?
I have met Bruce Forsyth, but not then. I met Bruce Forsyth when he used to come and do Strictly.
Yeah.
Come dancing.
Have you met Anton Dubach?
I haven't actually, no.
I was going to ask you for his number.
You've met all kinds of people. Was it very, very high pressure running things like political, the party conferences, etc.?
Yes, it was. It was a great experience and certainly both in Blackpool and in Brighton. And I think I remember when I first did the party conference in Blackpool, which I think was 2000 by myself. I went to the Labour Party one in 2002, but I hadn't taken over the hotel at that point. But I went 2003. We had Conservative Party conference, and it was still when there was a lot of terrorist threat or sort of threats. There is now, but security around party conferences was quite prevalent. But you had to go through quite a lot of counter-terrorism training, etc. And you have that realization if someone rings up and, for example, says there's a bomb in the hotel, you have to make the decision if you're going to evacuate, and you go through all of these scenarios of what can and can't happen. And you are responsible. You're responsible for all those people, and you've got the BBC there and ITV and Sky News and stuff all doing interviews with politicians in your lobby, and there's a lot going on. But party conferences I've got some amazing stories of, the ones I did back then, where you were basically up for 4 days, you didn't sleep, you pretty much went 24/7. Brighton in particular, because we had massive halls at the back of the hotel that you could. We had a function room there that could do a dinner for 1,000, but we had like 2 or 3 other massive rooms, and they used to split them up into smaller sort of syndicated rooms to do all these fringe events during party conferences. And we would have 200 to 300 events over 3 days. And some rooms would get used 5, 6, 7 times a day. You'd have a breakfast in there, and then you'd have a meeting, and then you'd have a lunch, and then you'd have an afternoon drinks, and then you'd have a dinner, and you'd be turning these rooms, and you basically had to allocate like a manager that would maybe look after the whole hotel just to a room, and they would have a team, and they would just be doing meal after meal, turning. But extraordinary to be involved in that sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What was the difference between so you worked in the States, and the States is known for I would say amazing customer service, and they sort of champion really good customer service, because quite a lot of it they get their wages through tips, don't they? It tops their wages up. So and then coming over to the UK, where and I suppose in the hotels and places that you've worked, the services, what was the difference between the service in the States and here, or when you went to the States to come in here?
I think obviously I was a lot younger when I went to the States, which was sort of early, in like 1980, around 1980. It was very different in the UK in terms of what the high streets looked like, and it was just a pub, wasn't it, that you would get very basic service in, and there weren't as many lovely restaurants as we have now. And I think when I was working there when I was young, customer service, I think my first sort of proper job not working for my dad was in a Baskin Robbins ice cream parlor, doing the scoops of ice cream. And then I worked in a pizza place doing pizza deliveries before probably pizza deliveries were ever thought of in the UK, delivering pizzas in Carrollton where I lived. But I think when I came back over here in the late 80s, early 90s, it was starting to change, but I've probably seen the most of it, working in hospitality since the early 90s right through to now. The UK, if you think about our high streets and our hotels and our restaurants and the way that market has changed, even in the last 15 years, it's completely different. Look at a city like Liverpool. When I used to come to Liverpool when I was at university back in 1989, 1990, I'd come up to Liverpool to watch Liverpool play at a weekend. But there was nowhere to go out to eat decent. I mean, there was pubs and stuff, but there was nowhere nice to go out in Liverpool. And there wasn't many hotels, to be honest. There was no Hiltons or Crowne Plazas, or I think there was the old Atlantic Tower, whatever it was called back then. But there wasn't many nice hotels in the city. Look at it now and look what's happening even this year with stuff coming into the city and opening. It's completely different. And I think service has developed with that. And actually, in some instances now, I think the service we deliver in the UK and the expectations of people in the UK from people going abroad more and experiencing great hospitality. People's expectations have risen with that, and I think now I would think what we offer in the UK is probably no different, if not better, than what you get in the States in some instances when I've been there recently. So
yeah, very much so. And when we spoke a while back, you said, oh yes, I'd like to come on the show, but let me get Eurovision out the way. And how was Eurovision for you? Was the hotel full?
Oh gosh, Eurovision was, yeah, it's something like you've never experienced before. Yeah. Having said that, I did the Ryder Cup and I've done party conferences, and I've done, when I worked in London, which we can talk about, you know, working in big hotels in London, I worked at the Metropole, which is a 1,000-bed hotel in London. You do some amazing events, but I think Eurovision is just like something, there's only one other event I've done that could even touch it, but I think it's just the complete way the city came together to deliver that event, and the speed at which we had to do it as well. Yeah. Like I said, I've put on big events before, like party conferences, where you have a long time to plan for them. You know, you're sitting down 12 months out, but because of us hosting it on behalf of the Ukraine, which made it also very special, it was really good. And not just for this hotel, but for all the hotels in the city, because I worked as part of Liverpool Hospitality Association to make sure all the hotels benefited from Eurovision. That experience was second to none, and the way the city came out, I think was perfect as well.
It was amazing. It was an unbelievable, and we've said this, but I think it made it so special a bit. You know what you've just said then, because we were hosting it on behalf. It wasn't us who were hosting it. You know, we were hosting it on behalf. That everybody sort of just said, right, okay, what are we going to do to? And I think everybody was involved. So part of the hospitality that you're involved in, how does that work?
So Liverpool Hospitality is a group of it's hotels, restaurants in the city that basically, you know, we represent the majority of hotels and restaurants in the city. Not everyone's involved in it, but they can be, and we're there to sort of work with the council, with Marketing Liverpool, with the ACC, to try and make sure that we put on good events, that we talk to each other, communicate what's going on in the market. You know, we do things around job fairs and getting people into the industry. We talk a lot around sort of skills and how we can engage with, you know, young people. So we've got a new sort of program that we're running this year, which is around hotels in the city, partnering with schools in the city to engage with the schools around what it's like to work in hospitality, all the great jobs that you can do in hospitality. We did something here last year, just before this hotel opened, where we invited 5 or 6 of the secondary schools in Liverpool to come in, and they spent half a day in the hotel going around, and we had a chef in the kitchen getting them to make pizzas. We had a guy on the bar doing mocktails. We had a housekeeper upstairs showing them how to make a bed and make sure you box your corners and stuff like that. Reception, all these different things. It was great. And then I did a little talk around being a GM and what that means and how much fun it is working in this industry, because I think that is a challenge. Unemployment's a massive challenge, but getting people to be interested in working in hospitality. And since Brexit and since COVID, there's been a real shift in the kind of ethos or mentality of hospitality employees around the hours that they're willing to work, the days they're willing to work, the flexibility they're willing to have. And we as an industry have had to adapt with that. But what it does mean is, because we are trying to be more flexible and trying to make sure people only work a certain number of hours, we have to make sure we've got more people that can do it, because you need to be able to share that workload. And you see again in a city like Liverpool, where we've got so many great venues, whether it be theatres or sort of entertainment venues or restaurants or bars or clubs or hotels or apart hotels. We need so many hands and feet to service people and look after make sure we give that great Liverpool welcome when people come to the city. So we need to engage with the young people to make them understand that you can make a career in hospitality, like I have. Mm-hmm. Not everyone's going to be a general manager, but there's so many different areas within hospitality, within event management. You look at a venue like the ACC, which is amazing, and organising events that take place there. There's so many different avenues within the world of hospitality that you can go into and make a career of, and make a successful career. And I think the thing as well is that in hospitality, in certain industries you get certain benefits. Like if you work in the airlines, you get the benefits of cheaper flights, and you get to go and travel to all these amazing destinations around the world. In hospitality, you get to go and stay in hotels for less than you would if you didn't work, and you get opportunities to try desserts with scallop on top and things like that, which you wouldn't get to do otherwise. Or and working in hospitality has its benefits, just like working in any other industry. But the great benefit for working in hospitality is it's a people business. You get to meet new people every day. You get to engage with people. You get to make people happy, and you get to have fun at work. Some businesses you can't have fun at work, but in hospitality, 100% you can have fun at work.
Definitely. I think every young person should have to do a bit like they used to do national service. I believe that every young person should have to go into hospitality and just work either a bar or a restaurant or something, because the people skills that you get, I think, set you up for life. I really, really do. I think it's I used to work, so I used to run pubs. I was, in the hotels and things, so I was like in hospitality, and I think it just massively gives you that confidence to be able to go on to do other things. But I definitely think that every young person should have a little go at working. And when you're young, it's like having a night out and getting paid for it. Certain places where you work.
It is indeed.
I agree with that, and I think it also, I think it gives life skills to people, even if you choose not to go into it as a career, even if you do it just at school or at uni or at college or whatever. My daughters, all four of my daughters have worked or are working in hospitality while they're studying, but then none of them are going to go into it as a career, or at least I hope they're not. Only because of what they want to do, and it would mean they're not. But but that they all enjoy it. But I think they want to be, vets and doctors and things like that. But I think the grounding it gives you communication skills, and it gives you life skills around how to talk to people. And a lot of teenagers, and it's awful to say that, especially in this day and age where social media is so prevalent and screens are so prevalent, and kids who go home and lock themselves in the room and play on Xboxes and PlayStations and don't interact with people. And it's a real worry for a lot of people that you get this isolation effect of this sort of the young people today, and spending more time looking at a screen than looking at people. So I think working and doing that just tries to break that down a bit. And a lot of people I have come in working here or have had work for me in the past, you see how they blossom over that period. When they first come in, they're quite shy and insular, and it can really make them into, the great young men or women that they're going to become, and whatever they go on to do. And some of them will stay in hospitality. And that's one of my greatest thrills working in this industry I have, is developing people and seeing people being successful at whatever level, whether it be starting as a waiter or a waitress, and now being the ops manager next door at the Royal College position, which Chris, who's the ops manager there, worked for me as a waiter in Blackpool in the Hilton 15 years ago or 10 years ago. Darren, who's now the area general manager for Leonardo, was my deputy at the Hilton in Brighton. And you see these people, whatever they're going into, they develop, and it's great to see that.
And Howard, it sounds like you've got a good network there of people you've worked with over the years as well, you've brought on. Have you seen the Grand Budapest Hotel, the film, which I think is hilarious? You've seen it now. It's a web film. You'd know it if you did. They're all a member of the Cross Keys, and they all phone each other and to get favours done in the hotels around the world. If you have been a hotel yet, you will find it such a good film to watch. It's really, really good. It's very funny.
I will add it to my list.
If you've got any time to watch it.
Absolutely.
The funniest thing that's ever happened to you in your business that you're able to share with us? Because I bet you've got a few stories.
Yeah, there are. I mean, a couple of springs. There's some very funny ones I probably can't share because we're not past the watershed.
Exactly.
The celebrities always tend to. There's funny stories that involve celebrities. There was an occasion where Rod Stewart stayed, but he came to Blackpool when his wife at the time was in Strictly. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Her name. Penny Lancaster. She was in Strictly, and he was actually performing. When they do the live performance, and they wanted him to come and stay at the hotel in Blackpool. And during the day while they were doing all the sound checks and everything. And anyway, I won't bore you with all the detail, but he's a big football fan. Yeah. And there was a game on in our bar, and we had another football team who were playing Fleetwood that day, staying at the hotel, and they were watching a game of Championship football. Mm-hmm. But there was a Scottish game on, I think it may have been Celtic or whoever it is he supports, big playing Celtic on another channel. And my duty manager was asked by his manager, can he go in the bar and watch the Celtic game? They're watching an English game in there at the moment, and can they go and ask? And so they went and asked all these football players who were watching this game and said, "There's a guest who'd like to come and watch the Celtic game. Can we change the channel?" And they were like, "No, we're watching the game. Anyway, Rod Stewart just walked in the bar. They went, "Yeah, Rod, come and sit down. Change the channel. Get this channel switched on. Put it on the Scottish." As soon as they saw who it was like they completely changed. They were all getting around him, and he was really fun with it and interacted with them. But it's just
What's the most obscure thing that somebody's asked you to do for them? Like when they say, "I only want blue M&Ms in a bowl."
Gosh. Yeah, there have been obscure things. I can't remember anything specific. It is usually around having, specific products in the room. It has to be like sealed containers of this, and they need to have been from this date range or whatever. You do get silly things like that. It's usually just the amount of stuff you get asked to put in rooms that they never use. Yeah. That's crazy. These riders that you get that say they want bottles of this and bottles of that and crisps and chocolates, etc. And they put all these things in, but they never actually use them, which is, I guess, more frustrating thing. It's a bit like the Sultan of Brunei. His team asked for all of this stuff to be there, but the actual reality is he just wanted a Big Mac.
He wants a Mackies,
yeah.
Because I heard the thing on the radio, and it was saying that Beyonce hires a guy, whether it's true or not, I don't know, because I don't personally know her, but she hires a guy to go and change the toilet seat in every hotel that she goes to stay in. So she has a brand new toilet seat in every hotel room.
I've never had a stay room, and I've never heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me. That would be the kind of thing.
Really?
And that's what I was thinking. Yeah, is there a mad thing like that? Yeah.
Cool. But as soon as I finish, it'll probably come to me that there's one that I was asked about. But you do get asked a lot of those sorts of things, but it's usually just quite fun.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit what you do in Alder Hey.
So I'm quite involved with charity, or I've tried to be quite involved with charities. I was on the board of trustees of the Blackpool Carers Centre because of my working in the city for the 6 years that I did. And I stopped there recently, and I wanted to do something else in this area. I'm obviously working in the city of Liverpool, but my daughters, two of my daughters have had a lot of treatment at Alder Hey, so I have quite an affiliation with that. And they were looking for someone to go on the Council of Governors, which is there to sort of support the hospital, but someone who maybe is, works within the local community and within the city in a commercial environment rather than maybe in healthcare or that sort of side, or in the public sector. So I was asked to join. I've only been on the council very, very short period of time. So I've been to one full meeting and a couple of online things, but the first full meeting's in September, where I'm looking forward to getting involved and supporting wherever I can. And I'm doing this work with Nugent as well, but in the future I'd like to do more fundraising for Alder Hey. We also, as a hotel, we work with the Royal. Obviously the new Royal Hospital's opened across the road from us. We're looking to support them where we can as well. We are literally right across the road. Speaking to some of the team there that work around the Swan Centre, which is the end of life care centre, and talking about doing things like creating a space here where they come and have a bereavement cafe and talk about things like that and have coffee. We've got a lovely bean cafe on our ground floor here, and just trying to do things to help support the local community where we can. And that's where I got involved with Nugent as well.
So tell us about the Sahara then.
Yeah, because you're doing
yeah. Well,
signed your life away, haven't you? What is it?
Yeah, and it's becoming quite daunting. So I've done, I think probably all bike rides, charity walks, charity runs, all these sort of things. But when Ainsley, who does their fundraising at Nugent, spoke to me, and she produced this brochure with all the different things, and happened to mention that they were doing this walk across the Sahara, and it just it struck a nerve of something that you're not likely to walk into a travel agent and go, do you know what? I'm going to walk across the Sahara for my holidays. And I think with everything that's gone on in this world in the last 3 or 4 years, it's always mad and it's all the rush and everything else. And life's very busy, as you can see from what you guys do, what I do. You're always busy, rush. And I think I love the idea of being there, looking up at the stars with no mobile phone for 5 or 6 days, with people you don't know, but ultimately raising money for a really, really, really great charity. And everything I've heard about Nugent around, the support they do for all different sectors of the Merseyside community.
Yeah, Nugent at East.
Yeah, from sort of very young people right through to elderly people. But there's one thing in particular that they do, which they've got this secure children's home in St Helens that supports like 1% of those children most in need that are affected by either severe, physical or mental abuse, and trying to help them rehabilitate. And they're trying to create, some great new facilities for them there. And I've heard a story about a couple of the young people there who probably go there without wanting to be on this earth and have been able to turn around and, as they become adults, come out of there with some future ahead of them. So anything I can do to support that. So the money I'm raising is to go towards that centre and to support them. But there's 10 or 11 other people doing it with me who are all raising money for Nugent. And as I said, I'm into week 2 of my training.
So what does it involve? What does the whole of the challenge involve?
So we fly to Morocco, and we get driven out into the Sahara, and we basically will trek for 6 days, 5 nights. We will have tents and sleeping bags and provisions that are on camels, and we'll have some guides that will guide us because we'd get lost otherwise, because I don't believe there's GPS out in the Sahara. And basically we will walk from a location in the morning. The camels will ride off and set up, and we will walk to them. Probably, I think, on average, about 20 kilometers a day, depending on the terrain. And we're doing it in November, so it won't be as hot as it is in the middle of the summer. But I think the average temperature can be sort of 28 degrees, so it's still hotter than a summer's day in Liverpool, certainly this year anyway.
And it'll be really cold of an evening.
Sorry.
Will it be really cold of an evening? Yeah,
and then the temperature really drops in the evening, and we've got no running water, no electricity. We are literally going to set up tents wherever we stop for the night. We'll have a guy who's with us with the guides who will cook us very traditional local Moroccan food, which we will eat. I'm sure we'll all be starving. Go to sleep as soon as and probably sit around a campfire, but go to sleep because there's no light or anything. And that's the thing. Maybe look up at the stars for a bit and then get up very early and walk again. But we're going through some lovely areas of the Sahara. We're kind of going across it rather than along it, because that would take a lot longer than 6 days. But the idea is, just to raise awareness for Nugent I don't know a lot of the people really well, but we've set up a WhatsApp group and everyone's started doing their training in the last week or two, because when we go on the 12th of November, so it's going to come along very quickly.
So what sort of training have you got to do?
Just lots of walking. Walking, cross-training, a bit of running. But it's building up that stamina and that ability to walk longer distances. I did a 2 hours and 15-minute walk on Sunday. Next Sunday, I'll go to 2 hours 45. I think you get up to the point where you're doing 6-7 hour walks. Bear in mind, you're going to probably be walking for 8-9 hours a day. When I did 9K on Saturday in 2.25 hours, but on pretty easy terrain. Again, if you've ever walked in sand, it's a bit different than walking on concrete or even walking up a hill. And it's going to be hot and we'll probably stop quite a bit. So it's a lot to do, but then to do 5-6 days in a row. So it's just about building up stamina, I think. So it's about just, getting in lots of good walks in the next few months.
Amazing. I think that's an amazing. I've never even seen the challenge of being able to walk the Sahara. That's a pretty cool one. I'd sort of like that would be something that I'd quite like to do. So
it just struck a chord of something unique to do that's a bit out of, rather than running a 5K or a 10K or doing a Tough Mudder. Not that I wouldn't do those things or I don't enjoy doing those things, but it was just something a little bit off the wall.
When you do it have to send us the images and we'll share them on the page so people can follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. I will share that. I'll send you the link for my local giving, but I will also I will share with you because I'm hopefully going to do some sort of blog while we're out there. We talked about doing some sort of video blogging while we're out there, and send some images. But I'm going to start posting stuff when I'm doing my training on this local giving page as well. So I'll make sure I share that with you.
Definitely, because people like to follow the from where you are today to when you complete, and it's good to watch. And it's about our thing is about inspiring other people. And somebody might watch and think, well, if you can go and walk in the Sahara, I might be able to do a 5K round the block, or I might be able to go and just walk to the shops or whatever. So it's about that.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Brilliant. I love that. So my Uncle Ron's listening, and my Uncle Ron says, Howard, what's the cricket bat in the case behind you?
Well, the cricket bat, it's a 2015 one-day series bat between England and Australia. So it's the England team that it's signed by, and Ben Stokes is on there. I can't remember who else is, but I know he's on there. Yeah, I'm a big cricket fan, a big England cricket fan, and I do still play, not as much as I do now. I'm getting a bit older, but I still play for Lytham Cricket Club, and we play in the Liverpool District League. So we play teams around, including Liverpool, Sefton, and Wallasey, and New Brighton, and Ormskirk, etc. So I'm often playing cricket in and around this area if I get a game at a weekend.
Brilliant. Yeah, if you're not working every weekend, brilliant.
Yeah,
amazing.
No, it's normally if I get a game, as in if I'm good enough. It's normally
if you get picked,
or someone's hurt them, hurt themselves.
Brilliant. So, what's the future hold then for Howard Lewis in the hotel hospitality sector?
Well, I'm just loving being in Liverpool. I am a Liverpool fan. Sorry for those Everton fans, but I'm a Liverpool fan and have been. I grew up in the States, but my grandfather used to send me clippings of Liverpool back in the early 80s, and obviously they were the team back then. So I've always followed them. Came when I was at university to watch them. I've been lots, but I always wanted to work in the city, and I've opened this amazing new hotel. We opened 12 months ago. And as Sandra said earlier, I've integrated in the city, whether it be with Liverpool Hospitality or now on the board of the new accommodation bid, which began at the start of this year. And also I've just taken over as chair of Club Liverpool, which is a sort of arm of Marketing Liverpool, which is a world, it's about having ambassadors for the city of Liverpool to identify opportunities for bringing big events to the city and making Liverpool more successful. So whether it be through the accommodation bid, or through that, or through Liverpool Hospitality, or just working with the stakeholders in the city, like I did with Eurovision. I sat on the stakeholder board. It's about making Liverpool the best place to come for an event, whether it be a big event like Eurovision or the World Gymnastics, or whether it be smaller conferences that take place at the Spine next door in the Royal College of Physicians building. So it's doing all of those things and making more people aware of that. And we've got people that have either come and studied. You've got great education in Liverpool with the universities and School of Tropical Medicine. A lot of people come and study in Liverpool and then move back to wherever they're from or go off and study. And it's making sure people that love Liverpool stay and work and make a career in Liverpool. So creating more opportunities for that. And we've got lots of investment opportunities in the city. Paddington Village, where I'm tonight, and where the hotel is a great new area of the city in the Knowledge Quarter. What we're trying to do with Siontech, with the Spine building next door, and soon to be Hemisphere and the other buildings, and creating that that success around health and life sciences is something I'm really keen to be involved in. And whilst my specialty is hospitality, it's about bringing those kind of people together and trying to collaborate and trying to make sure that we send out that really positive message about the city and how great it is. Eurovision was amazing for that in terms of it was a real spotlight on the city, but it showed we can do it. But it's just about using that legacy of that event and any other event that we bring to the city and making it really special. And I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about sustainability and making things sustainable and creating legacy. So, when things do come to Liverpool, that we create a legacy for either our young people or our communities or the people that live and work in the city all the time, and bring value to it.
Amazing.
So
I love it. It's brilliant. Yeah. And if anybody's around, go and pop in the hotel and go and have a little coffee and have a little look around.
Absolutely. Come and have a bean coffee with me. Give us a shout. I'll come and I'll chat more to you.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, so we do have a little format, and we have red face moments, which everybody waits patiently every week for Sandra's red face. So, Sandra, we were at an event, weren't we, on Thursday night? Joel launched his book, didn't he?
That was hilarious. That wasn't embarrassing, but that was awful though. So is this after I had the car cleaned?
Yeah.
And so I'm there. It was very hot on Thursday. The window was down. We were in traffic after the event. And I was talking about, and I went, the car's been cleaned. Look how shiny the car is. Andy did the car a few days ago, blah, blah, blah. The window's down. I swear to God, it was unbelievable. An invisible pigeon, I didn't see it. A bird must have flown past and deposited whatever that you call that it deposits. It came through the window of the car onto the side of the door. And I went, oh, look like that. Well, Helen and Petra were just crying, laughing. And I was like, oh, I need to get it on. I didn't have a tissue to hand. I was at the traffic lights and I had a scrunchie, a hair scrunchie, and it just went like that. And they were just, and then Petra produces all these tissues. They were just crying, laughing. That's my embarrassing moment.
It was just because we were talking about the car so much, wasn't it? That's what made it funny. What else happened on Saturday, San, for our first stop?
Right. So I think I've been falsely accused here. So on Saturday, the gentleman who was organising the cycle race said, right, these are the stopping points. So we're going ahead to the stopping points. I innocently looked on the stopping, found it, found the postcode and put it in, and off we went. And it was the middle of nowhere, which wasn't my fault. Anyway, we had to find somewhere else, didn't we?
We drove down, I was following the sat-nav, and I thought, this is like a little country road. We're supposed to be going to Helsby to a main road. I don't know what the main road is. We were driving along, I was thinking, this is like a little country road. And then it says, turn right. You'll have to get out the car and walk to your destination. And I was like, all the cyclists have got this postcode. So we ended up finding a pub, didn't we? So a massive shout out to the railway pub for letting us use the toilet.
Anyway, thereafter, Howard, I wasn't allowed to do that for any of the other pit stops. Helen did it all. All right.
But my red face was, we were parked in Abergele, weren't we? And we were having a little wait in the car park. So our phones, because we'd been using our phones, the battery was dying. So I thought, I'll just plug it. I thought, I won't leave the engine running. I'll just turn it on a little, and because I've got a Volvo, the lights automatically come on, which I'd forgotten. And we'd been there about an hour. And then I said, right, okay, ready? Yeah, let's ready to go. And the battery was flat. So I had to have a jump start off one of the other lads. So it was like, oh. So we were great to support, but we added a bit of humour on the way, didn't we?
We certainly did.
Yeah. What's your red face, Howard?
You didn't tell me I was going to have to come. I was just sat there while you were talking, thinking, am I going to have to say red face? I mean, this week I can't think of anything that I've done that's been totally embarrassing. But I actually remember I was on the train on Sunday, and you know when you connect your AirPods to your phone and you're watching something like a video and everything. So I started to watch this video that might have had a few rude words in it, and I was on quite a busy train on Sunday, and my AirPods hadn't actually connected to my phone, so I was actually playing it out, and everyone started looking. Yeah. But it was because I don't even know why. I guess I was just tired. I thought it was coming through my head, but it wasn't. It was coming through the thing, but it was quite loud. So I think the whole
not very loud. They're not working.
I think the whole carriage could hear me.
Oh, yeah.
That's brilliant. That's possible.
On the train.
I love that. That was great. Okay, shout out to the grown-ups. Any grown-ups who've done amazing things. Massive shout out to all the grown-ups who did the cycle. They've raised I think they wanted to raise 3,000. They've raised nearly over 4 now, I think.
Yeah.
So massive shout out. And a massive shout out to Lauren for bringing Nathaniel. So she brought him to meet everybody, and that was like really emotional, and it was the last little spur that the guys needed to finish the ride. So massive shout out, and I'm going to give a massive shout out to Joel Jellin as well, who has been on our show, and he launched his book on Thursday. So it was a lovely little event in the Liver building, wasn't it?
Loads of authors in the city, loads of people who've been on our show, all doing really cool stuff.
Yeah, so massive shout out to all of them. Who you shouting out to, Sam?
Yeah, I was going to shout out the same as you. So I don't think there's anything that can surpass the guys on Saturday. And some weren't experienced cyclists at all, and they just kept, 70 miles. Someone had borrowed a bike, and they just weren't like avid cyclists. There was a couple, but that was it. They had mountain bikes, and to go all the way from Speke to Conway, it was just like, and the worst of it was they were going, oh, thank you to us all the time. And I was thinking, oh my God, you've cycled 70 miles. I was like sat in the car. We went and had lunch while we were waiting. We just felt so bad.
We were a good support, though. I'm going to shout out to me and you, Sam, for being a motivational support.
I saw the videos, and you guys were a great support. So I was going to shout out to you too as well.
Oh, thank you.
For being the support to them.
Who else are you going to shout out to? Which other grown-ups?
Well, I was going to say Joel, because I know Joel very well. He looks after our social media as well at the hotel, but for his book. But also, my whole HOD team, management team, we went out on Friday. We did a leadership day, and we went to the races. So they're all pretty amazing guys, and we won Hotel of the Year a couple of weeks back. So it was a bit of a celebration for that. So a big shout out to all my all my staff, to be honest, every team member in the hotel for us winning Hotel of the Year. But one little shout out to Faye, who's my F&B manager, because she's been at home and she hasn't been able to come to work the last couple of days because her son's had chicken pox. They've got infected for the second time. She's not had any sleep, and she's got a little boy who's very unwell that she's having to look after as well. So shout out to him for getting better, and for her for having to deal with all of that. And I hope she's back in breakfast tomorrow morning, because otherwise I'll have to do it.
Yeah. Come on, Faye, we're rooting for you.
Come on, Faye.
Book podcast that you're reading or listening to very quickly, Sam?
I'm still on the one I discussed last week. I listened to a bit more today, so I'm cracking on with that. Compound Effect.
Compound Effect, phenomenal. What about you, Howard?
I've just finished a John Grisham book called The Judge's List, which is very good.
Look at that. How mad is that?
Oh, how mad is that? It's a great book.
One, give me that to read.
Yeah, it's a great book. I finished that. I read 3 John Grisham books on holiday, so I did really well. But my podcast at the moment, because it's the beginning of the season, is fantasy football. I'm listening to the fantasy football podcast to try and get as many tips as I can to beat all of my team at the hotel who are in a fantasy league with, and my friends as well back in Lytham, because I didn't win last year, but it didn't go very well first week. So I need to listen to the next fantasy league podcast to get some tips.
Top tip: change your team every week. I was ace for about 5 weeks, and then I forgot 1 week, and that's it. You just blow it. Then you just. Yeah.
I wasn't as bad as my friend Harry Kane in his team.
Yeah. Brilliant, cool. I'm listening to The Mountain Is You. Which is a new one that I'm listening to, which is very good. It's about yourself taking one step every time to climb the mountain, which is brilliant. So massive thank you to Howard. Massive thank you to Sandra. Good luck in everything that you're doing, Howard. Please share everything with the Sahara, because that sounds really cool. And we'll wish you all the best for that. What is your closing quote, mantra that you live by?
So I did a leadership legacy a few years ago, which my mantra is to inspire, develop, reward, and succeed together. That's what I live by. But I've always got it at the bottom of that. I sort of have it on my wall, which was a Muhammad Ali quote, which is the only limitations one has are those that they put on themselves. And I always try and remember that, that there are no limitations apart from those that you put on yourself. So just try and always remember that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Massive thank you. Thank you to Sandra. Thank you to everybody. And we will see you all next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Lovely.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.